Hello, my name is Tyler John Wolford. I'm a Byzantine archaeologist and a PhD candidate in the Medieval Studies program at Cornell University. I'm excited to be a fellow at ANAMED for the years of 2023 to 2024 academic year. Before I get to my research project, however, let me introduce myself and a little bit of my academic background. I'm originally from Portland, Indiana, a small town in the United States, and I attended a university quite close to it, called Ball State University, majoring in both anthropological archaeology, classical languages. For my master's work, I came here to Istanbul and attended Koç University. My dissertation was entitled The Hospitals of the Monastery, Contextualizing the Nosocomian and Xenodehian in the Monasteries of Late Antique Egypt and Palestine. This is one of the reasons I'm very excited to be joining this year as a fellow. After attending Koç University, I returned to the US and was accepted into the PhD program at Cornell. My dissertation project, which I'll be working on here as a fellow, is entitled Mountain Resilience, Byzantine Settlement on Mount Latros and Mycale in the 10th and 11th centuries. This project seeks to understand how and why people came to live with permanent settlements on the mountains of Latros and Mycale in the Middle Byzantine period. These mountains, known today as Beshparmak, Samsun, and the Dailak Peninsula, are located on the coast of Western Asia Minor, on either side of the Meander River, which itself forms the boundary both between the modern provinces Aydin and Muğla and the ancient regions of Asia and Caria, generally. Usually, increased habitation on mountains is explained by political and military instability. In other words, in the face of raids and approaching war, people run to the hills and they don't come back. However, this association of flight from war to mountainous habitation obscures a complicated and often contradictory relationship between mountains and war. Sure, there is evidence of refuges built into the mountain to take advantage of the natural topography. The fortress of Nikli Kalese on Mount Mycale comes to mind. However, I would argue this is more of an exception than the rule. After all, war cuts off the access to resources in the lowlands needed to sustain large populations on the mountain. Running to the hills is a short-term solution. Usually it is expected that those who do so will return to reclaim their lowland villages. In general, I argue that people moved to live in the mountains in the relative peaceful period which characterized the 10th and 11th centuries, not out of fear, but due to increased possibilities afforded by that peace. To accomplish this, I utilize community resilience theory in order to chart the various factors which allow communities to thrive in locations like mountains, which can leave communities vulnerable to change. Living on mountain landscapes require resilience due to unique challenges, such as isolation, difficult water management on slopes, and the lack of space for cultivation. Resilience theory likewise provides a framework to understand permanent settlement on, instead of short-term uses of these mountains. I argue that the resilience of upland settlement is rooted in the interconnection of two codependent institutions of the 10th and 11th centuries, the monastic houses providing mountain leadership and the imperial estates providing financial support. In other words, the 10th century foundation of monasteries deeper into and higher up on both mountains, and therefore themselves a form of permanent mountain settlement, was able to support a wider range of settlement due to financial support donated to these monasteries from the growing amount of land in the Meander Valley, which had come to be exploited directly by the Byzantine state. The mountains of Latros and Mycale are ideal for research on the resilience of mountain communities because the evidence available for the lower Meander Valley is multi-layered, including both hagiographical, archival, and archaeological sources. Of special note among these sources of information include the archaeological surveys conducted on both mountains. Mountains can prove difficult places to conduct archaeological fieldwork, so the fact that both mountains have survey data to marshal to this problem is not to be taken for granted. I utilize geographic information systems, GIS, to help make sense of this survey data vis-a-vis the elevation above sea level, to map possible routes across the landscape, and to map topographically significant data contained within the hagiographical and the archival sources. Thank you for listening to my introduction, and I look forward to meeting everyone and being a fellow at ANAMED in the upcoming year.